The World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims is a global event held every third Sunday of November to honor those who have lost their lives or been impacted by roadway crashes. To commemorate the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims in the U.S., people across the nation are elevating calls for action, including redesigning roads and setting policies to prioritize safety over speeds, leveraging funding for near and long-term safety investments, particularly communities most impacted, boosting safe and equitable transit, walking, and biking options for more people. Here in Chicago, our Safe Ambassadors team is collecting messages to compile a collective experience around traffic safety, identify priorities for road safety strategies, and encourage action.
Yeah, traffic safety impacts all of us, not just bike riders, not just people crossing the street. You know, we're all trying to get to where we need to go safely and on time. And you know, there's enough space for all of us here, and there's enough resources to dedicate to bike lanes, the bus lanes, and reduce traffic at the same time.
As a biker in Chicago, I would like to see progressive bike lane infrastructure that centers pedestrian and bicycle travel as well as public transit, but also works with car drivers and car owners to create sustainable traffic and parking solutions.
Thanks to CDOT and the ambassadors, I actually learned how to ride a bike 2 years ago. So if you imagine somebody for 42 years not riding a bike and not knowing what that experience is like, once I was able to learn, it changes the way you look at roads completely. To think about going from point A to point B in a city like Chicago becomes very treacherous in a lot of points. So that led to us really focusing on implementing what a lot of folks are kind of calling like bike grid now, right? To do that in the 40th Ward. So we've added protected bike lanes on Clark, we're adding them on Lincoln, we're adding greenways where possible.
Well, one of the things I'm doing to make streets safer is number one, maximizing our partnership with CDOT, making sure that the bike lanes are the latest so that our bike lanes look like the north side. So we want our fair share of quality bike lanes. So right there on 83rd and Wabash, we just installed some new concrete curbs.
They've called on us to use that for pedestrian improvements, for bump outs, the concrete version, sometimes the post and paint version. We've been able to work with them to create miles of protected bike lanes across the First Ward. That is never without pushback, but it's always going to be pushback because we're fighting to advance the rights of the minority against sometimes the interests of the majority.
The most important thing right now is to show up. You know, COVID forced us inside and to isolate. And now it's time to get out, to reconnect with neighbors, to walk on the sidewalks and in their streets, to take public transportation, to ride our bikes.
For me, it's riding my bike, both by myself as with my kids. We have a large cargo bike that the two of them still fit into.
The day after I was elected, somebody tweeted at me that they saw me riding without my helmet. And I realized that whether I wanted to be or not, I was a role model.
Well, number one, no texting, no driving, keeping the distractions minimum when behind the wheel.
We need to take seriously the call to lower our speed limit. We know that if you're driving 40 miles per hour, the chances that you kill someone with your car when you hit them are about 90%. That number goes down at 30 miles per hour, but it goes down even lower to near zero at 20 miles per hour.
We have to share the roads and we have to share the sidewalks. So how are we creating those things together? And I look forward to working with all of my colleagues in City Council and across the departments in the City of Chicago and with the mayor that has a vision where everyone, no matter where you live and whatever zip code you live in the City of Chicago, you have access to safe streets.
And we want to create these livable 10-minute communities, as people like to call. We need to make sure that the infrastructure is there so that people feel very safe using that, and that it's also going to make sense for them as they're getting from point A to point B as quickly as possible.
We can do all of this. I firmly believe 4 years from now, we could have a city where no one dies as a result of a traffic crash. We can do this. We know how to do it. It's going to take courage and conviction and creativity.